Hello and welcome to Gardening at 58 North. In this video I'd like to show you how you can keep your flaming Katy plant flowering for many months and what you need to do to ensure that it's going to bloom for you almost the whole winter long. So this one here is my flaming Katy. As you can see, there's quite a number of flowers on it at the moment. I've actually had this since early to mid-December. As you can see, it's still flowering and it's currently March, so it's had at least 2 or 3 months of flowering. And flaming Katy plants, they generally will flower for the whole winter if you look after them correctly. What they do is, in the wild, they flower during the winter time. So when the days are shorter and the temperatures are cooler, that's when they flower. During the summer, they just put on leaf growth. So to make sure that it stays in the flowering mode, so it knows that it's winter, it thinks it's winter, you want to put this on a cool windowsill. So this is easiest done over the winter time. Over summertime, you'll struggle to keep this flowering for too long, but over winter, this will flower for you very easily. All you need to do is put it on a cool windowsill. You want it at temperatures under 20 degrees, and you don't want to go below 10 degrees though. So between 10 degrees and 20 degrees is about right, but somewhere around 16 or 18 degrees is probably the optimum temperature. You want to also have it on a bright windowsill because it'll need plenty of energy to keep the flowers going. And you'll also want to make sure that it doesn't have long day lengths. So in winter, that's why it's easier to do, because the days are quite short. This plant, if it has short days, it will and long nights, it will flower quite freely. But if you're trying to get it to flower in spring or maybe in summer, what you'll need to do is actually close the curtains on your window, or kind of keep this out of the light so that it only gets, say, 9 or 8 hours of daylight a day instead of 12 or more. If it has 12 or more daylight hours a day, what will happen is it will actually stop flowering and it will start growing leaves and stems again. So when it comes to watering and feeding, you just want to make sure that it's kept well watered. It is quite a thirsty plant, but as is the succulent, it can survive a bit of drought, and also it be quite susceptible to root rot. So you want to make sure that you let the compost dry out just a little bit in between watering. Give it a good water. Make sure there's no water sitting in the saucer underneath, because if it sits in water, it will very quickly rot off. Then wait until the compost dries out again, and then once the compost is dried, you can water it. That's the best way of watering the kalanchoe. Just treat it as any other succulent, but maybe just give it a little bit more water than you would a normal succulent. Even though it is a succulent plant, the leaves are very thin, and so it doesn't hold as much water as many other succulents out there. When it comes to feeding, you don't really need to feed it much in winter. The growth is quite slow. It's putting all its energy into the flowers. Doesn't need a lot of feed, but maybe once a month you can just give it a dilute feed of some kind of tomato feed or something high in potassium, which will encourage the flowers to keep producing. But otherwise, feeding isn't too necessary, just as I say, a gentle feed of something high in potassium every now and again. Then lastly, what you can do is cut off a lot of the dead flowers. So you can see this one, it's been flowering for a long time because it's got some very long flower stems here with lots of old dead flowers on the sides. And it's also got a lot of new ones coming, so I can see that this is going to be flowering for quite a while yet. But what you're going to do is, if you find any ones like this one down here that don't show any signs of new flowers coming on them, you want to cut them right back to the closest stem. And what this will do is the plant won't be thinking it's putting any energy into seeds, and it will encourage it to put on more flowers. So any of these, you just want to go around and remove all of these. So that's all the old flowers taken off. Now you can see it looks quite a lot cleaner as well. It looks slightly nicer with all the old flowers taken off, and that will encourage these existing shoots to keep budding up and forming new flowers. Now if all of the shoots have gone brown like that, what you can do is just cut it back quite hard, and what you'll find is it will send up some new shoots. If it's cold enough and if the daylight is still quite short, so if it's winter time, it should send up some new flower buds. And I've actually got one stem here which is just starting to show signs of that, and that's this one down here. You can see it's got some very small shoots just starting to form. Now if this was the summertime, these would come out as new leaves. As it's winter, these will probably grow a couple of new leaves and then it'll have a flower on top. Just like with these flower shoots here, they've got a few very small leaves and then they come out as flowers. So that's all you really need to do to encourage it to keep flowering. As I say, come spring or summer, you really should give the plant a rest from flowering. It's very difficult to continue it flowering throughout the summer. You can do it if you keep taking it into a dark position at night time, giving it plenty of sun during the day, but it will be against what the plant wants to do, and it'll be more and more difficult to do that. Also, the plant won't be putting any energy into leaves, and eventually it'll get quite tired. So what you want to do come springtime is you just want to cut all the flowers off, put it in a nice sunny position and let the plant grow as it would naturally. And come autumn it will start to flower again. So as I say, that's all you really need to do. If you do have the time and the patience, what you can do is you can go around and you can pick off these individual dead flowers as well from the stems. But it's a lot more cumbersome than cutting off the spent flower stems. Cutting off the individual flowers takes a lot more effort and work. And also it's very fiddly, and it's a lot more easy to cut off the actual flowering stem whilst you're doing it. But if you've got the time and the patience, you can do that, and that will further increase your chance of having the flowers last longer. But as I say, the main things are keep it cool, make sure it doesn't get long daylight lengths, which as I say is easily done if you're living somewhere with short days in the winter time. But otherwise it should keep flowering for you, and as it's March, I suspect this one will go for another month or so, and then come April, May when the days are longer, it'll probably finish flowering and go back into its growth stage.